talk about something we've all faced, those completely baffling Windows problems. You know, one minute everything's working just fine, and the next you're staring at some error that makes absolutely no sense. Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain and turn you into a master detective using one of the most powerful tools you already have, the command line.
Oh man, we have all been there. That moment when your internet connection just decides to give up for no reason at all. Pages won't load, your downloads stall out, and that little spinning circle, it becomes your absolute worst enemy. It is hands down one of the most frustrating tech problems, and it's the perfect place for our investigation to begin.
Okay, let's start with the golden rule. And this is really the core idea for our entire deep dive today. You have to look at the whole picture. See, a network problem isn't always, a network problem. It could be your hardware acting up, a corrupted file in your operating system, or, the network itself. Thinking of these three things as one single interconnected system, that is the secret to solving the toughest glitches out there.
So, where do we begin? Well, just like a doctor checks a patient's vital signs first, we're going to start by checking the vital signs of our network connection. These are the basic foundational checks that are going to tell us right away if the issue is with our machine or somewhere way out on the internet. First tool out of the bag is ipconfig. The easiest way to think about this is like your computer's network ID card. It tells you exactly who your computer is on the network, what its address is, who it talks to for directions, and how it's plugged into the local neighborhood. It's the absolute first step you should take every single time.
So when you type in ipconfig/all, you get this really detailed report. Right away, we can see our IP address, the default gateway, that's just your router, usually, and the DNS servers, which are basically the internet's phone book. And you'll want to pay special attention to that gateway address. We're going to need it for our very next test.
Now, knowing what you're looking for is everything. You want to see a valid IP address. If you see one that starts with 169.254, that's a huge red flag. It means your computer basically asked for an address and got no reply. You also want to make sure the gateway and DNS servers look right. If these three things check out, congratulations, your PC is properly connected to your local network.
Next up, ping. It's really the simplest way to just ask another computer on the network, "Hey, you there?" It sends out this tiny little signal and just waits for a reply. It's such a quick and powerful way to test if you can actually reach your destination.
And this right here shows you the perfect sequence. First, you ping your own gateway. Remember that address we found with ipconfig? If that works, you know your local connection is solid. Then, you ping a super reliable public address, like Google's DNS server at 8.8.8.8. If that works, you know for sure you can reach the wider internet.
Reading the results from ping is super easy. Reply from means you're golden, success. But request timed out, well, that's our first big clue that something is wrong. And here's the classic pro tip. If you can ping an IP address like 8.8.8.8, but you can't ping a name like google.com, you have almost certainly found a DNS problem. Case closed on that one.
But what happens when those basic checks don't solve the mystery? Well, then it's time to bring out the more advanced tools and really dig into what the network is doing.
Meet Tracert, which is short for traceroute. Now, if ping asks, "Are you there?" Tracert asks, "How do I get there?" It literally maps out every single router, or hop, that your data takes on its journey across the internet to get where it's going. The output here shows you exactly where the connection might be hitting a snag or failing completely. Now, don't get freaked out if you see a row of asterisks. As our source material points out, it doesn't always mean failure. Some routers are just set up not to reply. The real key is seeing if the trace just stops cold. That can tell you if the problem is local, with your internet provider, or even further down the line.
Our last network tool for today is netstat, or network statistics. Think of this command as putting your own machine under surveillance. It shows you every single connection that's active, which programs are making them, and what ports they're using. It is fantastic for spotting if some rogue app is secretly eating up all your bandwidth.
So, we've run all of our network tests, and maybe we still don't have an answer. This is where the story takes a fascinating turn. What if all the clues we've gathered have been pointing us in the completely wrong direction? What if the problem isn't the network at all? And this, right here, gets to the absolute heart of our golden rule. This shows how common network symptoms can actually be caused by something totally different. A network timeout might really be a bad driver. That frustrating limited connectivity error could be a corrupt operating system file.
And even something that looks exactly like a DNS problem could be a sign that your hard drive is failing.
Okay, so with this new insight, we're shifting our entire investigation. We're now hunting for the real culprit, and we're moving our focus away from the network and onto the health of the PC itself. First up, let's check the drivers using PNPOTIL. Now, drivers are just those tiny bits of software that let your operating system talk to your physical hardware. And believe me, a buggy network card driver is one of the most common secret causes of connection problems, and this tool lets us check on it directly. Next, we need to check the health of Windows itself. The command sfc/scan now stands for System File Checker, and it does exactly what it sounds like. It scans all the critical, protected files that make Windows run and automatically replaces any that it finds are corrupt or missing. It's like a built-in repair tool. But for the sake of our investigation, let's say SFC comes back clean. It reports no integrity violations. The mystery isn't over. This just forces us to go one level deeper into the very core of the operating system.
So now we bring out the heavy artillery, DISM. This tool checks the core component store of the Windows image itself. That's the library of files that SFC uses to make its repairs. So if this underlying image is corrupted, DISM can often fix the problems that SFC can't.
But again, our investigation hits a dead end. The DISM scan reports the image is perfectly healthy. We've checked the network, we've checked the drivers, we've checked the OS files. What on earth could be left? Well, there's only one fundamental layer we haven't checked.
And that brings us to check disk, or check disk. This tool goes all the way down to the foundation, investigating the physical and logical health of your storage drive. A failing disk can cause all sorts of random, system-wide chaos, creating errors that look like they're coming from anywhere and everywhere, including the network.
We've followed the evidence from the network to the OS all the way down to the physical disk, and we solved the case. But more importantly, in doing that, we've unlocked a really powerful new way of thinking about how to solve these problems.
And really, this is the most important takeaway of all. This isn't about just memorizing commands. It's about having a method. First, you gather evidence from both the network and the system. Then, based on that evidence, you form a hypothesis, a best guess about where the real problem is. And finally, you test that hypothesis with the right tool for the job and you fix it. This is the repeatable mindset of an expert.
So we've journeyed through the command line and we've uncovered a whole new way to look at diagnosing problems. You're not just a user anymore, you're a detective. So the only real question left is, now that you have the keys to the kingdom, what mysteries are you going to solve? Thanks for tuning in.